Congress back in session next week with a lot on their plate. No one knows that better than the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who is here with us now. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Just a few days ago, President Trump on social media said that he's putting together a comprehensive crime bill with you and Leader Thune over in the Senate. That came as a surprise to a few people. What details can you give us about what's in this bill?
Well, we're putting together the components of that. The first thing to remember is that we cannot allow crime to devastate, ruin our great cities in America, certainly not the greatest capital in the world. And so we've got to end the crime wave. We've got to clean up the city, and we've got to make sure that it shines as it should, as the nation's greatest nation's greatest capital. So we'll begin to do that. You'll see some components of legislation that will come forward to address the juvenile crime wave that's happening there.
It's a D.C. crime bill, not a comprehensive crime bill?
Well, it'll be both. It'll be components. We're going to handle D.C. first because that's directly within our purview, and then look to other cities around America as well. We've got to also end these policing policies that have prevented law enforcement from actually keeping safety on the streets for residents and victims, visitors who become victims. And that's an important thing to do. Sometimes local governance does not do the job, and the oversight in D.C. is long overdue.
I was going to ask when you might be calling for the National Guard in Shreveport, which is, you have part of your district is Shreveport. The FBI statistics, actually violent crime per 100,000 residents higher in Shreveport last year than Washington, D.C.
There's a lot of good work that's been done. There's a lot of reasons for that. But we have a Democrat DA there who has not been prosecuting crime as some other more aggressive DAs have around the country. Soros funded that individual to be elected. But I'll say that, it's an urban area that has a lot of problems that are happening around the country, and we have to address it.
So would the Guard help? If the Guard can help in D.C., the President has said he wants to send the Guard to Chicago and other places. Why not Shreveport?
I don't know. That's not my call.
Would you
it
ask
may be
him
necessary.
For that?
Well, I don't know. Let's take one city at a time and see. We have to address the crime problem in any city where it is. It's a problem like that. And in large cities like in Chicago, as you mentioned, that would be a big help there. I was there just 2 days ago, and it's a serious, serious problem. They don't even report murders on the evening news in Chicago anymore because it's so common. And Democrat-run cities typically have that problem because they have not been tough on crime. President Trump is one who believes in that, and we do as well. And we've got to take every measure to make sure we're keeping American cities safe. It's common sense.
I want to ask you about some foreign policy here. It's 2 weeks to the day since President Trump met with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. After that meeting, after he met with Zelensky a few days later, he came out and said the big achievement from that was he was setting up a one-on-one between Zelensky and Putin. Mm-hmm. That hasn't happened.
Right.
Russia has given no indication it's about to happen. In the meantime, they just launched their second largest aerial assault on Ukraine since the war began. Are you satisfied with this progress?
Well, I'm satisfied with President Trump's efforts. I mean, he's showing that strength and resolve and direct engagement makes a big difference, and he is a force of nature in that regard. Look at what he's done, negotiating ceasefires and peace deals and normalization of relations of countries that have long been at odds. That's very positive steps on the world stage. So the Russia-Ukraine conflict, as we know, is very complicated. They're moving in the right direction.
You say efforts, though. Wouldn't you like to see results? What results have you seen?
Of course. Everybody around the world would like to see results.
Do you think if Congress passed its own sanctions, it might put pressure on Russia to act in ways that President Trump hasn't been able to get them to?
It may come to that, and I'm in favor of that. I do not trust Vladimir Putin. He is not an honest broker in this. He's a former KGB operative. He's the aggressor here. There's no question about that, and he must be dealt with accordingly. So we'll see how this goes. Ukraine and our European allies and others around the world have extended a hand of peace, moving forward positively, and let's see what happens with that negotiation. We're all prayerful that it resolves quickly, and so is President Trump. He wants an end to the war, and he's the strong force that can help bring it about.
While everyone's been away from Washington, Texas voted to, and I'm going to use the word, gerrymander their district so they get 5 more Republican seats. California made moves that will maybe help them gerrymander so they get 5 more Democratic seats. More states are talking about it. Where do you think this should stop?
Well, I'm not involved in it. The Speaker of the House has no control over some national redistricting strategy. It's the resolve and the decision of the individual states. But I will say there's a big difference between what happened in Texas and California. Gavin Newsom's gambit, which is what it is going to disenfranchise millions of California voters because they all supported their redistricting commission, the Citizens Redistricting Commission. He has to traverse and trample upon or shred his state constitution to do this.
Well, they get to vote on it. They're going to vote on it.
They are, but the way he set that up...
It's not disenfranchising if they can vote on it.
Well, it is, because, listen, 43% of the electorate in California is Republican. 14% of their delegation to Congress is Republican. They've already disenfranchised people. They've already gerrymandered. And it's interesting to me that Democrats who have been playing politics with redistricting for decades are now trying to lecture the red states and Republicans who are simply following state and federal law. That's what they did in Texas. There's a big difference between what's happening in those states.
You cited the Republicans in California. You know, in Wisconsin, every year it's 50-50 for presidential elections. 2 out of 8 representatives are Democrats, so 25%. In Utah, 37%. About the same that
you want
voted
to go state for state?
Well,
because the blue states have eliminated entirely.
But that's what I'm saying. Where does it stop? I think it's ridiculous. I want to know where it stops.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have a limited scope of authority over these things, and I don't control the governors. If I could get them all on a conference call, I'd say resolve it, gentlemen and ladies, but they don't, and so we'll see where it goes.
If only the Speaker of the House had any authority in this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask you about something that you were instrumental, maybe crucial, maybe the singular most crucial person in passing, which is what the president was calling the big, beautiful bill. But he said this week, I'm not going to use that term, great, big, beautiful bill. That was good for getting it approved. It's not good for explaining it to people. I guess my question is, why is it hard to explain to people? Our Harry Etten, who's a numbers guy, a great numbers guy, I'm sure you've seen him, he put together some numbers and said it's among the most unpopular laws passed since 1990, less so than the Affordable Care Act, the bank bailout, and the Republican tax bill of 2017. Why so hard?
I'm not surprised by these numbers at all, because there's been an all-out assault and effort by Democrats and the mainstream media to frankly misinform people about what's in the bill. When they take the same polls of the individual provisions of that giant piece of legislation, they're wildly popular. So what happened over the August district work period is Republicans fanned out, Senate and House Republicans across the country to all their districts to go and explain exactly the extraordinary things that are in this bill. It's geared and written for lower and middle class earners. They're going to feel the effects of that. We restored American energy dominance, peace through strength, largest tax cuts in U.S. history. People are going to feel that before they vote in that midterm election, and I am very bullish on the outcome of that because they'll see the results.
You brought up polling when they asked people about specific provisions. Fox News, where I think you're headed later, they did ask about specific provisions. Absolutely right. No tax on tips. The majority approved, 70%. Defense spending, majority approved, 61%. Everything else they asked about, though, underwater, right? And EV tax credit underwater, boost Medicare work requirements underwater, increase border wall spending underwater, increase detention center spending underwater, solar and wind incentives and them underwater, reduce SNAP benefits underwater, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm not buying that. Polls can be manipulated. We have seen a string of polls over and over and over that many of those, every one of those provisions, in fact, that you said, are popular. We want to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse in government. We want to reduce the size and scope of government. These things, people nod in agreement. And I've been in town halls around the country over this break, 12 states in the last week. And people are standing and applauding for what we've done. So, look, I tell you, the facts are going to speak for themselves, the results and the things that people experience, and that's why we're excited about the midterms coming up. We're going to win this.
We'll see, although the president does say there needs to be a language shift. So that does indicate that he's got some concerns there. You went away for the summer a day early because of the Jeffrey Epstein situation. You're going back here. While, again, Congress was gone, Ghislaine Maxwell talked to the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche. She's in prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. She told Todd Blanche, quote, "I never, ever saw any man doing something inappropriate with a woman of any age. I never saw inappropriate habits." How much weight do you put in the comments of Ghislaine Maxwell?
Not much at all. She has no credibility. She's been convicted for sex trafficking, okay? But we're for maximum transparency with the Epstein files. I've been saying this for years. We've been intellectually consistent from day one. And over this break, over the last couple of weeks in August, the Department of Justice and the administration have been fully compliant with Congress's subpoenas, and they've submitted over 34,000 Epstein documents already. Our House Oversight Committee is doing their due diligence so that we can release it all. But they're going through carefully to make sure that the victims of these horrific sex crimes, let's be frank about it, are not exposed. They've already been through harm. And we have a responsibility to do that, so it takes a little time. But we're going to put it all out there and let the American people decide.
So the discharge petition from Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, I hope I'm using the right word, will ripen soon?
Well, no, I guess it would if they get the right signature.
If they get the signature,
but it's now a moot point. It's not even necessary. I mean,
you don't think it's going to happen?
There may be a floor vote of one measure or another. We have our own resolutions to do all this, but it's sort of not necessary at the point because the administration is already doing this. They're turning it over.
So I don't think that Congressman Khanna and Massie think that yet, at least from what I've heard. And I don't know that the 218 people that they think they have as signatories of that think that either. If they do get the signatures, will you allow that to come to a vote on the floor?
We might not even wait for that. We have our own resolutions to affect this same thing. But the process is playing out as it should, and very soon the American people will have that information, and they should have had it all along. That's my view.
But you can't guarantee there'll be a vote on the discharge petition.
There probably will be a vote of some sense, but we've got to get everybody collected again and build consensus around that.
Listen, Mr. Speaker, Mike Johnson, a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks a lot.
Next time you're in New York, come back again. Appreciate it.
Love to. Thank you.